then I would go all over the place, and my brain doesn't work like that. So he's probably gonna have to cut me off after my time's up, but I'm just so excited to be here. My name's Kara Bossmeyer, and I am from a small town in Kansas.
Woo!
Allison actually has me beat. She's from a town of 300. I'm from a town of 1,000 in Deerfield, and yeah, I grew up there. My dad's a farmer, my mom's a real estate appraiser, and I met my husband Ian in Garden City, which is like the next town over, and we started raising our family there. We have 3 boys, Paxton, Porter, and Princeton. They're 6, 4, and 2. And we knew we wanted more for our family, but we didn't know what that looked like. And so I was like, we should move to the coast. And my husband's like very, very practical, thank goodness. And he started job hunting and found a job just 3.5 hours in Wichita, Kansas. So we now live in Wichita, Kansas, and we raise our boys, and there's just so much more opportunities in Wichita. And that's truly what we wanted, but we made the decision to move. We didn't have to move. And it was not the most financial best decision for us. We went from a 1.875 interest rate to a 6, and we doubled our house mortgage. And we were on 1 income at the time. It was a really silly decision, but I was with a previous MLM, and I like to cop it up to being a hobby because I wasn't making any money. I don't know if any of y'all out there have ever done that, but I did it for 4 years, and I had so much fun doing that. But life was happening, and yeah, I was pregnant when we moved in. I was 30 weeks pregnant, and I had 2 toddlers, and right after I had our Princeton, I found out I was in kidney failure. My grandma committed suicide, and life just really sucked. To top it off, my 2-year-old, which if y'all have a middle child, you know this, but he got into something that he shouldn't have, that I left on the kitchen counter with the lid off. It required us to call poison control. We had to rush him to the emergency room, and thank the Lord he ended up being okay, but it just happened to be the same emergency room that I was in, finding out I was in kidney failure. So within that 6-week time frame, health truly never mattered more to us. And it's cool because, you know, Morgan Martin is like this great, awesome thing on social media, but we met at a backyard barbecue, and and that was in Michigan, and we lived in Kansas. So it's just really cool to see how like these full circle moments happen over a year's time. And so I reached out to her, and I said, I don't know what you have, and I probably can't afford it, but we need something safer in our home and around these wild boys. And so she shared Melaleuca with me, and I fell in love so much that a couple months later, she did a business approach on me, and she was like, it seems like you're really successful where you're at, but would you just look at this? And so she shared it with me, and I remember getting on the Zoom with her, and she showed me at the time her $30,000 and $50,000 paychecks, and although those were really big paychecks, I was trying to play it so cool. I was like, okay, like, I'll think about it. And I remember getting off the call crying, canceling my membership for my previous company, Cold Turkey, and I called my parents and I was like, I have to do this. Have you ever heard of Melaleuca? And they were like, yeah, we bought it in the 90s. And so I was like, oh, you know, all the things. And so it's really cool to see how much this has come full circle. It's the biggest blessing for my family and I. When we moved into that house and the financial struggles that we were in, it's something really cool to see now that we don't have that. And my husband is about as Dutch as they come, and he's very frugal, and so, which is a complete opposite of me. And so, you know, what does this mean to me? Gosh, it means the world to me. Financial freedom, time freedom, you know, I get to stay home with my kids. But truly, when we moved to Wichita, it was too big for me. I didn't want to put my kids in public school, and we put our oldest in a preschool that I didn't absolutely love, and I had so much anxiety him being there. And I pulled him. And my husband Ian was like, you're not homeschooling. Like, we're gonna have to figure something out, but I want you to always look forward to the day, and I feel like you need to get out and you need to go do something. And so there was a private school within walking distance from our house that I always, once we moved there, I dreamed of our boys going, but I knew that we couldn't afford it. And a year ago, we were able to go get on the wait list, and they now go to school there, and I get to walk the boys to school. Yeah, it's really cool. That July, we were able to pay their entire tuition up front and not make monthly payments, and that was huge for us. And I think for Ian not being so stressed about finances, I don't get stressed over finances. It's him. And so much so though that he has all these hobbies and he has these big dreams, but I feel like I wish he was here, but he is actually on a flight to Japan. He's going on a 10-day ski trip with his friends, and that's just something that never would have been possible. And even 5 months ago, I was like, guys, you gotta go on this trip. You gotta do this. And he was like, no, I just don't think it's very smart for us to do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get him, get all this stuff, and then he's gonna have to go. And yesterday I called him and I was like, are you getting excited? And he goes, yeah, I went and bought new shoes, and I went and bought a new GoPro, and I got new ski boots, and like, this is his hobby and his passion, and it's just so cool that he gets to actually be excited about spending money, and he's not stressed about it. And so for us, it's the time freedom, it's the financial freedom. But I don't know if you guys have seen a theme going on here, but I see busy boy moms up here. I see rural Kansas gals up here. And, the underdogs can win here. And I don't really like calling us underdogs because I think that's the majority of us. But it is just so cool to be at a place where I feel so confident that I can build an entire team from Deerfield or Garden City, Kansas. And I'm telling you, when I talk to people, that's right. When I talk to people and they're like, how did you do it? And I was like, I literally just talked to my friends and family from my small town, people that I went to high school with, people that I went to college with. I mean, they're friends of friends. I actually did a thing with my team about 6 months ago, and I went through every customer that I had and I tally marked how long have I known them. I can't remember like all the statistics, but it was like 20% I'd known for 20 years. Like 10% I've known for over 15 years. But really the percentage-wise, it was 80% I knew for more than 5 years. And the 20% that I knew less than that, they were mutual friends. They were friends of friends. They were friends of family. But I will say, like, only 6 of my shoppers are family. And like, that just goes to show I didn't go sign my entire family. Like, all of my cousins aren't shopping with me. So it is possible to be able to build a business without being on social media. And even though social media is fun and I love being on there, that connection outside of face-to-face, especially as like a mom, is really great. But that in person is really cool. And especially now that I'm 3.5 hours from my small town, it's so great. So anyway, that's kind of my story.